Yeah, full. I'm going to join you. Tell you what, let's do this. And another one that's not been sitting on the desk. I had to grab a bottle of water from upstairs, and there is none.
Yeah, so
Wonderful. Agenda. Yep. Mm-hmm. Shall be conditioned on the development of the property in substantial compliance with the same.
Elsa, you ready?
Yep.
Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the License and Variance Board meeting for Wednesday, June 13th. The time is now 10:01 a.m. License and Variance Board members present are myself, Roy Acree, I'm the fire chief here in the city of Smyrna. To my left is Mary Moore, the director of the library, and to her left is Eric Randall, our city engineer. Immediately in front of Ms. Moore is Ms. Elsa Thompson here for the official meeting minutes. We have 3 items on the agenda today. Item 3A is a public hearing variance request V18-044 to allow side setback reduction from 12 to 8 feet for an attached garage addition to a single-family residence, 1.15 acre land lot 555, located at 1375 Twin Oaks Circle, with Charles Spencer as the applicant. Mr. Spencer, are you present? If you could please step forward to the podium, and if you could, the minutes for today are recorded, so we'll ask that you speak into the microphone. If you could assure that the green light is on, that way we know the microphone is on. Okay, thank you. So if you could, for the record, state your name. So I understand that items A and B are both with you as the applicant with the same property. So this thing that you're applying to do has spawned 2 different variances. So we have to hear each variance independent of the other. So we'll contemplate this first one for that deals with the side setback. But if you want to, just for the sake of the explanation of the project, just kind of give us a big picture. Here's what we have. Here's what we want to do. Just explain to us the project. If you could speak in. Okay. All right, so typically how this works is we kind of hear this opening from you. We've got Mr. Stobbs here with Community Development that's part of city staff that's going to give us kind of the details of the project, and then we may or may not have some additional questions for you. So if you would just, stay here on the front row, and I'll call Mr. Stobbs.
Joey Stobbs, Planner 2 with Community Development. Applicants requesting the first variance at 1375 Twin Oaks Lane for reduction of the side setback from 12 feet to 8 feet for an attached garage addition to a single-family residence. The subject property is about 1.15 acres. It's zoned R20. The existing structure is pushed well deep into the lot and to the side. The side where the garage addition will be is already got some impervious materials, gravel, tie wall, and a carport. Applicant's proposing to remodel that and pave the gravel area and then build a new 2-car garage in that same space. it'll be about, the corner of the new structure will be about 8 feet from the side property line. And it's basically just that front corner that encroaches the side setback. We've analyzed the request, have not heard any objections from surrounding properties, and we've recommended approval. With one condition that, well, there's two conditions. The second one applies to the second request. But first condition is approval of the requested variance shall be conditioned upon the development of the property in substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application. And I will go over the second condition with the second request.
Okay. Do we have any questions for staff? How about questions for the applicants on this first one?
I don't have any questions on, or comment on the first variance request, no.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Spencer, you heard staff read into the record the one condition. It's a pretty standard condition. Basically, it says that, you know, you're going to have to build it the way that you've applied to build it. You can't, you know, apply and then do something completely different. Do you accept that condition?
I do.
Okay. Okay. This is a public hearing. I'm about to call for public comment, but let the record show that the only people present in the chambers are the applicant and city staff. But for the record, this is a public hearing. If there is anybody here, I would ask that you step forward now. And assuming there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to pass item A, V18-044, variance request, allow side setback reduction from 12 feet to 8 feet for an attached garage addition to a single-family residence, 1.15 acres, land lot 555, address 1375 Twin Oaks Circle, applicant Charles Spencer. Move to pass.
I second the motion.
I have a motion to approve that's been properly seconded. Without any further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Fine. I'm not seeing something on the floor. There we go. Sorry about that.
There we go. Motion passes unanimously 3-0. Next item on the agenda is 3B, which is also a public hearing, variance request V18-045 to allow encroachment into the city's 75-foot impervious surface setback, again located at 1.15 acre land lot 555, 1375 Twin Oaks Circle. Mr. Charles Spencer as the applicant. Mr. Spencer, if you could come back up. So I appreciate you giving us the roundabout and the first one. Do you have any additional comments specific to this?
Just
3B.
Obviously, as you guys are already aware, this is a 1950 structure. It was built prior to the impervious setback ordinances being set. So it's not possible to build an addition and comply at the same time with the existing variance if the structure was, and I have no desire to do this, but if you bulldozed it and rebuilt it, the building envelope would obviously move back to
Sure. Yeah.
comply. But since I can't move the entire building, I want to reuse most of the building and just do an addition. I'm requesting a variance to allow me to continue in that, but to agree to the engineer's condition to not develop any of the other parts of the property, so that way we can allow for the addition and
Sure.
not disturb the environment.
And we see this a lot where you know, older homes are, you know, fall in a status that's referred to as existing non-compliant. So they've existed for years. By today's standard, they're non-compliant, but they're also, you know, as you're aware, any type of, you know, change to the structure requires significant contemplation. I know that that Mr. Randall just wanted to have a few comments on this one, just for the sake of overall awareness for you.
Yep.
So
one additional comment, just real quick, is because of the nature of Smyrna and the nature of these neighborhoods and stuff, one of the key things I was trying to do, I wanted to improve the house, modernize it to my standard, but I also didn't want to do a tear down and rebuild, just because it changes the character, it changes a classic neighborhood, a classic part of Smyrna, and I just wanted to be respectful of the design and what exists here, and just trying to preserve a little bit of our history.
sure, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments for the applicant?
I do. First, a comment of, oh, come on, you've got 1.1 acres here. You could easily put 4 homes on here.
6.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Do you have any plans for any additional work behind the house? I see where there's a patio and stairs down. Are you doing any kind of a deck or a patio in the back, a fire pit, any additional work
There's
proposed?
already an existing fire pit, and everything is located to the south end of the house, but I'm not planning on adding anything.
Okay. One thing that leads me to make some assumptions about what's going on here is the plat we've received references the buffers, but it doesn't actually show them on here. So by the time it comes in for construction documents, you actually want to permit this, I'm going to request that it come to the engineer's office for review. I would like to see those buffers referenced
Okay.
to validate that it's only touching the impervious buffer and not into the undisturbed buffer.
Which is the 25-foot setback or the 50-foot setback?
There's the 25-foot, to talk about all 3 buffers that are city and state.
Yep.
When you measure from the point of rested vegetation, rested like the word wrestle, the point when there's sufficient flow in the stream that nothing grows, from that point back 25 feet towards your house is the state buffer. We have no jurisdiction over that. Overlapping that 25 feet is a 50-foot undisturbed buffer. That is the city buffer. And then outside of that 50-foot is 25 feet undisturbed. I mean, not undisturbed, impervious. You can bulldoze in it, you can grade it, you could put a pervious patio down there, but you can't put impervious area, such as a home addition, without a variance. And that's why we're here. And it sounds like you already have a pretty good understanding of that.
Correct.
So all I'm looking for when the plans come through is to show those 3, the 25-foot state, the 50-foot undisturbed, and the 75-foot, an additional 25-foot impervious buffer
Okay.
as represented. And then I believe the variance memo references, looking for documents, issue sheet, open. And the 2 conditions with this, approval of requested variance shall be conditioned upon the development of the property in substantial compliance with the site plan. We've already talked about that. Applicant shall designate an area outside of the impervious setback and equal to the area of the garage to remain impervious. I believe that's supposed to read the area of the proposed addition that's within the buffer to remain impervious. And what I'll look for from that is a revised plat that's filed with the county that sets that aside. And those, the buffers that I had referenced and showing the area of your proposed addition in the buffer, and then an equivalent area somewhere else on the property that says, we're going to hold this, we're going to average the buffer through here. So whatever does run off through the yard has more buffer to get into.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
just so I'm clear, not to interrupt, so, because this is kind of the way I understand it, but I would describe it as, if we are going to contemplate and should this 3B passed to get into the impervious setback, the condition 2 that you just mentioned would, if the passing of this variance would impede into X number of square feet, then you have to designate that equal square footage somewhere else.
Adjacent to the buffer, yes.
Okay.
You can't.
It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just
Right.
means you have to identify that equal amount of square feet somewhere else. and
If this
keep
is
that
100
impervious.
square foot intrusion in the buffer, you have to put an additional 100 square feet somewhere else adjacent to the buffer on your property. You can't put it up by your mailbox.
No, it's 600 square feet. It's 30 by 20 addition onto the house. So it would just run the length of the buffer for the length of the house. That would just be a strip that would go through the plot.
That's more than acceptable. Thank you. And does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. So really, this condition was really just for your benefit, not that, I'm sure that we probably didn't, make you aware of something you weren't aware of. It's just just for the sake of, should this pass and should you move forward through permitting, our city engineer is gonna want to see a little bit more information on this.
The one other element that I would look for, and this is, we're a little bit informal here at this point.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a formal hearing, but the feedback prior to construction documents coming in is gutters and roof drains, making sure that they're discharging in a way that flow will go completely. The buffers have it has an opportunity to infiltrate into the buffers. So if you've got a gutter and a downspout off the back corner of the property on the creek side, making sure that it has the opportunity, what flows through there has the opportunity to flow through the buffer and infiltrate before it gets to the creek. So you can't get one of those 4-inch HDPE pipes from Home Depot and carry it all the way to the creek and say, hey, I don't want water in my backyard. You have a creek in your backyard. Give it the opportunity to infiltrate. And that sidesteps any additional water quality that would otherwise be required.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions or comments for the applicant?
Let me back out and make the motion
Well, wait,
appropriate.
we still got to hear from
I'm
staff.
sorry, yes.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you, Mr. Spencer. I'll call Mr. Stiles back. Do you have any additional that would be relevant to this 3B?
No, sir, it's been covered, I think, by questions and from the applicant. But just to be clear, this is for 1375 Twin Oaks Lane to allow encroachment into the city's 75-foot impervious surface setback. And this will apply to the garage and to the new addition to the house on the right side of the house. We've reviewed the requests, have not heard from any opposition, and have recommended 2 conditions. One, that approval of the requested variance shall be conditioned upon the development and the property in substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application. Number 2, which I will amend from the staff recommendation, prior to issuance of building permit, the applicant shall designate an area outside of the impervious setback equal to the area of the garage and the proposed home addition that will remain impervious. Do you want me to try to word a third condition, or do you want Eric to?
Well, I think that we can accomplish that just through the application for permitting. I don't know that we need
I
to have
concur.
it on-
There does not need to be a third
Okay.
stipulation of this.
Okay.
Yeah, we recommended approval.
And also for the record, the 2 conditions as read into staff would be included with any contemplation that this board will hear for a motion for approval. Mr. Spencer, you just heard staff read into record 2 conditions that would apply to 3B. The first is the same as 3A, then the second would be in addition to that we've recently discussed. Do you have any issue with these requirements? Do you accept these requirements?
I accept.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions or comments for staff or for the applicant?
No.
This is a public hearing. I would ask that if anybody's here to talk about this issue, just step forward now. Again, there's nobody else here except for staff and the applicant. So seeing no public comment, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion on item V18-045, a variance request to allow encroachment into the city's 75-foot impervious surface setback, 1.15 acres, land lot 555 at 1375 Twin Oaks Circle. Owner is Charles Spencer. I make a motion to approve with conditions as amended and discussed.
We have a verbal second. Ms. Moore.
A second.
We have a motion to approve item 3B that's properly seconded. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. Motion passes unanimously 3-0. Thank you for coming today, sir. Appreciate it. Good luck. Last item on the agenda is 3C. Mr. Stobbs, if you could just confirm, it's my understanding that the applicant's requested to table this item V18-046 until the next license variance board meeting minutes, which would be June the 24th? 27th, for June the 27th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any further discussion about that tabling of this item?
They're just trying to work out some agreement with the adjacent property, and they agreed with staff that postponing it 2 weeks might allow for some of that
Okay.
agreement to be made.
Okay, so at this time, we'll entertain a motion to table 3C until June 27th.
I'll make a motion to table item C, public hearing variance request V 18-046, allow reduction of side setback from 10 feet to 1 foot for a carport addition to a single-family residence, .31 acres, land lot 778, address 2474 Spring Drive, applicant Thomas D'Souza. The motion is to table this until meeting on June 27.
Motion to table. Do we have a verbal second?
I second the motion.
We have a motion to table 3C that's been properly seconded. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. Motion passes unanimously 3-0. That is, oh, wait, we got one more. Item 4A is the approval of the May 23rd, 2018 L&V Board meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 23rd License and Variance Board meeting.
Second?
We have a motion to approve the minutes from the last License and Variance Board minutes that's properly seconded. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. That motion passes unanimously 3-0. I will adjourn this License and Variance Board meeting at 10:21 a.m. I'll do like Tammy. She does that.